we have Saltman, who is a journalist, and he's also a fellow Dominican. So he's joining me right about now. And also we have, he calls himself Paul, but I'm gonna rename him because that's not his name. So we have Al, who's gonna be joining us here, and Al is in Japan right now, and he's going to be telling us, sharing a little bit as to what your experiences are. I know Salt, how are you doing, Salt? You hear me? You hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
How about you, Al?
Sorry? Oh,
Al, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, I'm hearing you. You hearing me?
Okay. Yes, I'm hearing you. Al, I see you have your mask on your face. What's going on? What's up with that?
Well, I just came from outside, so that's how I do when I go outside. So trying to stay safe in that place.
Wow. What is it like in Tokyo right now?
Well, we're not hearing much about what's happening, and well, me personally, 'cause I don't really listen to the radio and stuff like that. But it's crazy though. Like I could tell you from the stores, like just people when you go out and in the stores, people buying up all the stuff. So that kind of worries me. Water, tissue papers, all the sanitary stuff, and they are limiting the amount of people, the amount of the quality quantity that you could get. So even if they limit it, it still goes because people just keep coming, like making trips and buying up all the stuff.
How about you, Salt? You're in San Martin. Are you experiencing the similar things to what Alice is talking about?
Well, good night to the good night, good morning, good whatever time people are listening. Well, as you know, JL, you know that we are a very unique island, St. Martin. Um, we have two parts, a French and a Dutch. So we are directly affiliated with Holland, and we are directly affiliated with France.
Mhm.
And you would know that these are some of the areas that are most hardly hit by the coronavirus. So whatever France says and whatever Holland says, we have to abide by it.
Mhm.
So we have had our on the French side, there was a total shutdown, very early last week, because the virus was being spread very quickly. And we, if you take notes, you see that even in Guadeloupe and Martinique, the cases are so many over there. So when that began to happen, or before that began to happen, St. Martin had already closed their borders on the French side. We see that on the Dutch side now that we have today we had a second case on the Dutch side, and but we have been given sort of like a semi curfew. The schools were closed on both sides of the island, so students are home until we are told that we are not supposed to congregate to a certain number. Before it was up to 100 and it went down to 50. Now they say none at all.
Mhm.
Um, they're asking us to don't panic, not to panic. But the awareness is so hype that people are not taking this for granted. Every so very often we have updates from the prime minister. She's on almost every day now, giving updates as to what to do. And I believe that now that because what St. Martin is also unique, jail, is that we are the hub for the Caribbean. So somebody going to Dominica may stop in St. Martin before they get to Dominica. Somebody coming from Canada stop in St. Martin before they get to Dominica. So we kind of the hub. If you come into Anguilla, you stop in St. Martin to go to Anguilla. You come to St. Kitts, you stop in St. Martin to go to St. Kitts. So we are a hub for the region. So because of that, we had to shut down we had to shut down the airport basically. In other words, we cannot be the hub for the islands anymore. All that's coming in now are cargoes and persons who want to leave to go back to their destination. They allow them to leave,
Mhm.
but people returning back, you're not allowed to come back.
Wow. So
It was,
you've
mhm.
totally isolated everyone in terms of people are not allowed into San Martin right now.
And they were saying that the Caribbean, they were still leaving it open to a certain extent for Caribbean islands. But then Barbados get cases, then Grenada get cases, then now Dominica get cases. So totally, we have a total shutdown.
How is it like in terms of commuting for you, in terms of shutting down for you, Al, where you are your kids in school?
Yeah, well, nah, they're not in school. They're at home. You could maybe hear them in the background right now. School is closed till on the 13th of next month. Um, they had a suspected case in my.
Is that as a result of the pandemic?
Excuse me, I didn't hear what you say.
That as a result of COVID-19?
Yes, it is. Actually, my last son, they had to close his school for some time because they had a suspected case of the virus. So we had to have him in quarantine. But we did get a call from medical saying that the person was tested negative, so he's good.
How
My
did you
other son, excuse me.
how did you feel getting that information? Even like,
Oh, uh, I can't even explain. I was worried. And they only told us that when we come to get him, the staff wasn't even aware of it. I mean, the way they dealt with the situation, I wasn't too pleased about it. But I'm just happy that the person tested negative. So I mean, that's good. But I don't know if you know, but I live on the military base installation.
yeah.
So I think pretty soon they're going to shut down the base because things are getting crazy. They stopped selling food, like even the restaurants and stuff. Um, yeah, it's starting to get crazy, and I think they're gonna shut down the base real soon.
What is
As of for
shutting
me,
down?
I don't take public transportation or anything like that. Anywhere I go, I use my personal vehicle, so I don't have to interact with anybody on trains and stuff like that.
What would shutting down entail though if the base were to shut down?
How or what?
What would it entail? Like, what would you have to do?
Oh well, nobody's allowed to go in or out. Um, that's it pretty much. You can't leave the base. You can't go anywhere. So people starting to stock up. That's why you can't really get nothing on the shelves, even on base. So the stuff is limited. Everything that they have on the base is imported, even the bread, the bagels or whatever.
You look worried.
So
Are you worried?
I'm not too worried. I already stock up all my stuff. I have my flour and whatever, so I could make my bakes and whatnot, all my water and everything. So I think I'm pretty much prepared if anything runs short.
How about you, Salt? What are you doing preparation? Because well, there's no preparation anymore because you're shut down. Or what are you doing to keep yourself, safe on in San Martin?
Well, to be honest, JL, I am concerned but not fearful. Um, I've seen people actually fearful over the whole situation because it is something that they told us will last for 2 weeks, and now we look at the news, the international news, we look at the local news, and we see that it's something that's going to last for a while. It's not like it's going to last for like 2 weeks because every time somebody's suspected of being um, infected, they have to quarantine for 14 days. So that means that every week that somebody's found with the virus or suspected, they have an extra 14 days that has to prolong, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So that is one of the ticklish issue because how are you going to say that on the 24th of March that this thing is going to be over or on the 29th of June this thing is going to be over? You will never know when it's going to end. And then we look at the television and we see that the increase in Italy and we see increase in all this other places around the world. And it does cause some of us to be worried. But in terms of stocking up, I have not really bought anything. To be honest with you, still have the limited number of water that I have. I have not gone out of the way to shop. I've seen people shop though. Some of the shelves are empty. People have been shopping in panic here. But I've not done so personally. I said when the time is right, I probably will do so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've seen people shop frantically, and they are saying that they will not have a shortage of food. That's what the government is saying now. But I see sooner or later they will have to say, do something, because if everybody around the world is shopping so crazy, then eventually something will happen. You know,
In
but
terms of
in terms of
work,
all,
go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah. So in terms of all of that, I'm not really too not really panicking. I'm just taking it one day at a time, and making my faith be greater than my fear.
Mhm. In terms of your work, you do travel or commute to a studio, right? How was that
Yeah.
affected? How was that changed?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. What has happened now on the front side to get across the, because I do radio on the front side. To get to work, I have to show a permission slip that they gave to us that tells you where you're going, what you're going to do, and it has to be stamped by your organization.
Yeah.
In other words, if I'm going to work at a supermarket, I cannot use this saying I'm going to a supermarket at 1 o'clock in the morning. It has to be during a set time.
Mhm.
For me, I do journalists, so I could be on the road almost any time. I may be going to the studio almost any time.
Mhm.
If you don't have this paper, you'll be fined, I think, euro. In euro, you'll be given a fine in euro. On the Dutch side, it's more lenient. You could be on the street, but they're asking people not to be on the street.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
But the restaurants are open, most of them are open, but only for pick up and take out. So you can't go sit and dine. You call in, you order the food, go pick it up, and head back home.
Now, Al, you're in Japan, and I know you watch, you follow what's going on, and you both are Dominicans. What sort of advice would you give to Dominicans? They just had their first case of confirmed case of the COVID or Corona, and people may be panicking. People may have different people may be in shock. They might want to go out to the supermarket and buy out everything off the shelf. People, all different things can be going through it. What sort of advice, since we've been for a considerable number of a few days or weeks, what sort of advice would you provide or would you be able to offer?
Well, first of all, people need to self quarantine. I think that's one of the most effective ways to deal with that situation because, like, what's his name? Like the guy from St. Martin just said that you don't know if you're really infected with this virus. It would take like 14, 15 days so you could know, and you could get in contact with a lot of people, and then that's how it spreads. So self quarantine, I think that's one of the main things that we need to do. Um, Take that thing real serious. Like a lot, I've been studying and looking, listening to people via social media talk about the whole situation, and I don't think they taking it as serious as they should. So I think people need to really take that thing serious. If we have to keep our children at home, I mean it's hard. It's a hard thing to do because I mean people have to go to work, make a living. They have bills to pay, mortgages, all that kind of stuff. So it's hard, but people need to try, at least try to stay away from crowds, practice proper hygiene, and as far as the stocking up on goods and stuff like that, I think people should stock up on the goods, but at the same time, think of other people, like especially the elderly. They might not be able to go out to buy the stuff, so keep them in mind when you clean up the shelves and all that. Um, but I think that's about it. Like just practice proper hygiene and self quarantine, man. Like keep away from crowds.
Salt,
All right, Jail. Sorry, he just jumped on me, Jail. Sorry.
your crack man.
Yeah, yeah. My advice to persons is as Al rightly said, do not panic. Um, we pay attention, especially to the news, especially in your country, your part of the world. Pay attention to what's happening. Especially those in Dominica right now who are panicking. You know what I did, Jail? When I heard that they found a case in Dominica, I told my wife, don't send my sons to school. Keep them home from tomorrow. Because you cannot be so sure, you know. So I advise them as well to whatever the authorities say, follow the instructions. if it means that no school from tomorrow, keep the children home. If you gotta go to work or you don't have to go to work, stay at home.
Mhm.
But isolate yourself as much as possible. That's what I'm doing in St. Martin actually. I'm in house all the time. If I don't have to go outside, I don't go outside. And when I go outside and I come back, take my clothes off, I throw it in the laundry, I take a shower. Because you never know who touched the last thing that you touched. You understand? You just have to be and keep alert, and ensure that you have food as Al rightly said. Don't over shop and overspend. But ensure that you have the basic essentials because you never know what's going to happen. As time proceeds, if you have to go back to the market, you do so. But just keep it calm, keep watchful, keep hopeful, and I believe that one day these too shall pass.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so very much for joining me. I really appreciate that. And thanks for offering your advice. You guys are experiencing this head on. You almost had, it could have been you, right, Al? It could have been you guys, your family. And God has spared you guys. Well, I could say God, but you've been spared. And you have to be grateful for that. And I'm so grateful to you for taking the time. I know you're in a different time zone. It's already Monday where you're at, and you take your time out to talk with me. Same as you, Salt. I wanna, tell you guys to be safe. Continue to do what you're doing because obviously it's working. And I hope that folks listening would take your advice, especially folks who are in the islands who have not been impacted. And there's a possibility that the virus can make its way to their island. And when I say make its way, somebody could carry the virus to your island. As you remember, it has an incubation time of 14 days, so it could be in your system. You can have it and not even know that you have it. So we want to encourage you to practice all the safety precautions. A few of the safety precautions. You want to make sure that you wash your hands with soap and water. You use hand sanitizer in cases where you need to. Don't touch your face. A lot of people like to touch their face. I know I wouldn't have a problem with that because I don't like to touch my face. But don't touch your face. Don't shake hands. Don't tag. None of that. Cough in your elbow. Cough in a tissue. Don't just cough out. Practice social distancing as much as possible. Speaking of social distancing, I also want to encourage folks to stay in touch with their friends, their family, their loved ones, because during that time, people can get depressed, right? People can get down. People can feel isolated, being isolated, right? People can also feel abandoned. So I want to encourage you guys to do that. And thank you guys so very much, the two of you, for joining me here on Cacoa Tea.